Did you know that people with the highest IQs are often the ones who feel most out of place in social settings? Research shows they struggle with social noise that others don't even notice. It's not because you're antisocial, it's because your brain operates at a frequency most can't tune into. Today, we decode the hidden psychology of high IQ and why your most annoying habits are actually signs of a superior cognitive engine. You've likely spent your life feeling like an outsider, wondering why you can't just relax like everyone else. But intelligence is less about what you know and more about how your brain processes the world. If you find yourself constantly analyzing and searching for patterns, you aren't failing at being normal. You are succeeding at being highly evolved. The first thing you'll notice about highly intelligent people is their profound comfort with solitude. While the world is terrified of being alone, your brain craves it. This isn't because you dislike people, it's because your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning and complex thinking, needs silence to work. Research from the London School of Economics found that individuals with higher IQs feel less satisfied with frequent social interaction. Their brains are so busy processing internal ideas that external noise feels like a distraction. When you choose to stay home, you aren't missing out. You are giving your brain the bandwidth it needs to build its next internal model of reality. But what most people never realize is that this need for silence isn't just a preference. It's a biological lock that stays closed to protect your mental energy. And in a moment, I'm going to show you how this same mechanism leads to a habit that looks like madness to others, but is actually a marker of elite focus. This leads to the second habit, relentless curiosity. A high IQ brain is a pattern-seeking engine that never turns off. You don't just ask philosophical questions, you ask mundane ones. Why do people behave this way? Why does this specific system work like that? For you, curiosity is mental fuel. While others accept the world at face value, you are busy decoding the hidden logic beneath it. This isn't boredom, it's an active cognitive system searching for the why behind the what. This brings us to a habit many find strange: talking to yourself. Psychologists call this self-directed speech, and it is a misunderstood sign of intelligence. Studies show that narrating your thinking process can drastically improve focus and cognitive control. It helps the brain organize disorganized thoughts and strengthens working memory. When you see someone quietly talking through a problem with themselves, they aren't losing their grip on reality. They are strengthening it. They are externalizing thoughts to solve them at a speed that internal thinking can't match. One of the most powerful insights about high intelligence is the ability to say, "I don't know." This is a direct sign of intellectual honesty. In psychology, this relates to the dunning-kruger effect, where less knowledgeable people overestimate their abilities. Highly intelligent people do the opposite. They understand the sheer complexity of the world and treat knowledge with humility. They don't see not knowing as a failure. They see it as an empty space on a map waiting to be filled. If you value truth over being right, you are displaying a level of cognitive maturity most people will never achieve. But here's a question you've probably asked yourself: why can't I just turn it off? Why do I have to overthink everything? Before we look at how your brain simulates reality, we need to talk about where this elite level of perception actually started. Because for many of you, it began much earlier than you think. The truth is, you didn't choose to be this perceptive. You were likely forced into it by your environment. Many people with high IQ personalities grew up in homes where they had to be hyper-vigilant. Before you could read books, you could read the slight tension in a parent's jaw or the specific way a door closed. You learned to scan for emotional data because your safety once depended on it. Psychologists call this parentification. You became an emotional manager before you were an adult. While that was a burden, it forged your brain into a sophisticated threat detection system. Today, you aren't paranoid. You have developed a pattern recognition engine that sees inconsistencies long before anyone else does. This leads to the habit of overthinking small things. To an outsider, it looks like indecision, but internally, your brain is running multiple mental models. You aren't just making a decision, you are simulating possibilities and predicting outcomes. This analytical paralysis is just a byproduct of a brain that refuses to settle for the first obvious answer. You aren't stuck. You are simulating. And that same brain can spot a catastrophe before it even begins. You aren't too much. You are just more prepared. Now, before we continue, I want to share something that most people overlook. There is one specific habit that connects your high IQ to a behavior we usually think is just for fun. But in reality, it is one of the most complex calculations your brain ever performs. That habit is a strong, often dark or sophisticated sense of humor. Humor is one of the most cognitively demanding tasks the brain can perform. To create or understand a joke, your brain must recognize a pattern, break the expectation of that pattern, and connect two unrelated ideas in a split second. Studies in intelligence journals have shown a direct correlation between higher IQ and advanced humor processing. If you are the person who always finds the weird connection that makes everyone laugh, you are actually flexing your cognitive muscles. You are seeing the hidden irony in the world that everyone else misses. But here's the real twist. The problem was never your inability to fit in. The problem was the noise you were trying to fit into. Once you understand the difference between loneliness and solitude, your entire perspective will change. There is a massive difference between isolation and insulation. Isolation is a punishment. Insulation is a filter. Think of it like a house in a storm. Isolation is being trapped in the basement. Insulation is having high-quality windows that let the light in but keep the freezing wind out. When you choose to stay away from certain people, you are insulating your mental health. You have realized that peace over performance is the only way to maintain your sanity. This is why many high IQ individuals are night owls. Research in evolutionary psychology suggests that people with higher cognitive flexibility adapt more easily to non-traditional patterns, like staying awake when the rest of the tribe is asleep. The quiet of the night provides a unique environment where the brain can wander without social demands. If your best ideas come when the world is dark, you aren't lazy in the mornings. You are simply operating on a different evolutionary clock. You are finding your peace when the noise finally stops. Society will try to label you as uncertain because you change your mind when new evidence appears. But in psychology, this is called cognitive flexibility. It is a key marker of advanced problem solving. While most people tie their beliefs to their identity, you treat your beliefs as flexible mental models. When the data changes, you update the model. You aren't flip-flopping, you are evolving. You have realized that being right is nowhere near as important as being accurate. Finally, high intelligence often comes with a constant, quiet search for meaning. You aren't just living life, you're trying to understand the why behind it. Why do we think the way we do? What is the purpose of this relationship? How do these systems connect? This isn't always a dramatic crisis. Sometimes it's just a quiet question in the back of your mind while you're doing the dishes. It is the unquenchable curiosity that defines the high IQ personality. If you recognize these habits in yourself, stop apologizing for them. You are not too much, and you are not weird. You are simply operating with a high-performance engine in a world that often prefers a simpler model. Your need for solitude, your overthinking, and your constant questions are not flaws. They are the tools of your brilliance. You have moved from a life of trying to fit in to a life of trying to understand. And that is a journey that most people will never have the courage to take. If this message felt like the validation you've been looking for, then you are exactly where you need to be. Leave a comment and share which of these habits resonates most with you. Let's build a sanctuary for the quiet thinkers. Subscribe to join a community that values the depth behind the behavior. Take a deep breath. Trust your patterns. Your brain is a masterpiece. And I'll see you in the next one.